Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing the rundown Fnatic vs Team Heretics. I'm sorry for not posting the rundown of my predictions on YouTube, because apparently my Streamlabs settings reset and I was recording it with music on, and then when I posted it I just got copyright struck from every angle. Like, they were beating me like a dead horse with copyright strikes. I couldn't even post it. I just had like my playlist blasting in my ears. I couldn't post it. I did predict Fnatic to win, and I predicted also Fnatic to beat XL tomorrow. Will that have changed after today? You'll find out later in this video or in this conversation if you're on Twitch. First game, Fnatic vs Team Heretics. The key questions I had coming into the day was, how are they going to treat Renekton? How are they going to treat Kai'Sa and Xayah, right? I think Renekton is what pieces together the champion pool of Evi. He was good to play against Renekton, and he was good at playing with Renekton. You think of the tanks into Renekton and also him playing Renekton. This is what his champion pool was centered around. And I think that Oscarini's champion pool is centered around everything else, right? I think when Renekton's out of the picture, then I think that everything becomes better for Oscarini. He can play K'Sante, the Rumble becomes stronger too, I think, because Renekton Sejuani can do well into Rumble, in my opinion. But in isolation, Rumble can win, right? It's a very explosive matchup. K'Sante becomes better. You can play Jax as well, right? Renekton Jax is a kind of a 50-50 matchup. I think slightly favored to Renekton, but Jax is OP, so it's definitely skill matchup, right? I think removing Renekton definitely opens up his pool. Big question for Team Heretics coming into this one is like, how likely are they to play Jace? How likely are they to play Tristana? And additionally, how is Fnatic going to maneuver themselves around the Jace? I think Team Heretics really blundered hard here by banning LeBlanc first. I think they should have fished for more information, because I don't think you take for granted and take for certain that Fnatic actually want to play LB. So they matched Kai'Sa ban with LB ban, and I think they revealed their hand, because I think there was a slight chance that LB ban would actually come through. If we take a look at the previous series, right, of Fnatic, whenever they had opportunities to pick LB, they didn't, and also they banned on occasion LB on blue themselves. Maybe there's additional scrim information or so forth, but I think the key thing about the LB ban is that it shows the hand that they are not ready to play Tristana, right? Because most of the time on red side, if you have a mid laner and a team that can play the full pool of champions, the full range of champions that are really OP, I think that you are ready to set yourself up for success on 1-2 by being able to counter whatever OP mid laners left in the pool. And you can pick Tristana into LB, and if the enemy goes LB first pick, then you have Tristana, Maokai, or Tristana Rel, and you're very happy with being decided counter picks, or even pick Xayah yourself, right? And in this case, they ban LB, they reveal their hand, and they don't force Fnatic to show more in terms of information, so they just match Kai'Sa ban with LB ban. Xayah gets picked off as well, and then that is matched by Rumble. Evi spammed Rumble in solo queue, but of course Oscarinin is a proven Rumble, so they just ban it. And then Renekton is banned, and then Tristana too. When Kai'Sa, LeBlanc, Tristana is out, it's much better to prioritize the Jace mid. When Jace is in the picture and Rel, Maokai, Sejuani is open, you have the option of going in that direction. Very crucial detail here, right, is that I thought that Fnatic's 1-2-3 was quite bad. They first pick Jace, which is super good, but I think they have option. I think the whole trick here, when Xayah is out of the picture, even when Xayah is in the picture, I think the teams should adopt what Fnatic did later on in the series, and that's picking Varus 1-2-3. I think Varus is so flexible in terms of itemization that it really enables your Jace in cases where Ivan, Rel, Maokai is out and you don't want to play Sejuani. Very important to just slam that AD carry, because in this particular context, right, in this particular one, they dropped 4-5 and they landed on Zeri Alistar. I don't know where the Zeri comes from, right, but my impression right now with watching all major regions, I feel like Zeri is quite weak, very poorly performing. And I think Fnatic essentially rely on having stronger bot lanes. I think their whole gameplay pattern is enabled through having the stronger bot sides, because when they are in a position where they dominate bot, I think that Ivan is super good at leveraging his champion to do more. And especially when you have Trundle into Maokai, if you can't find yourself where you fight against the Maokai level 3 and really invade, then I think that this champion just becomes worse and worse. Additionally, you already pick a full AD topside and you kind of set yourself up for, you know, failure here if you don't have more AP champions to pick. Maybe here you could play Ziggs, right? Ziggs Alistar, I think it would have been slightly better, but I think that this is just rough. Team Heretics not banning Jace on red once 3 times, so strange. Yeah, it is kind of weird, but I think they had a big problem with that. They were too afraid to play. They didn't have the answer of Tristana into LB. Their only answer into LB was Kai'Sa. When Kai'Sa was out, they had to ban LB. And then they have an answer into Jace, but they don't have an answer into Tristana. They're willing to play Ahri and Yone into Jace, but they don't want to play into Tristana. And additionally, I think that even in a world where Tristana is opened, I think they would never pick it themselves. And this is where the struggles came in. And I think if they ban Jace themselves instead of Tristana, then the Tristana becomes stronger because Jace is a good answer into Tristana. So do you see how the lack of the ability to play these champions is something that is very, very hard and bad, right? It really makes your draft harder if this is your position. Because I repeat, their answer into LB is Kai'Sa. So Kai'Sa is banned, LB is out. And then their answer into Trist is Jace. So if they ban Jace and leave Tristana open, then Tristana, they have no answer into Tristana. But they have answers into Jace. So they ban Tristana. Because in some cases they get Jace themselves. Or, so in this case, for example, if Tristana is in the picture, maybe Fnatic will first pick Maokai. And then they pick Jace, and then they get Maokai Tristana. So they wanted to remove it. They should have prepped then for a Jace counter. It's not like there's only one champ. What do you mean? That's the whole point, right? The Yone did well this game. They had prepared Yone with Maokai into Jace. And Yone did well, right? And then they won a lot of games with Ahri into Jace, right? So don't talk shit, right? So now you say you're talking about Tristana when you specifically mention Jace. Okay, I will just ignore chat. So we continue. Looking at this game, I will just show a very, very crucial moment in time. Here, in this moment in the game. So, as an example here, right? Razork is crossing into bottom side. Razork is crossing into bottom side. He's doing 3 camp at the cross bottom side because he wants to pressure invade on Maokai. But here there's a situation where Zeri and Alistar are not pushing. They're getting pressured because obviously here Varus and Rel are just stronger, right? And here Trundle is going into river. He wants to pressure the Maokai, but he can't because there's a heavy, heavy bot gap, right? Heavy, heavy bot gap. So here the wave is too bad and Maokai is just spotting to make sure that Yone can play the game, and then he puts a sampling and spots Razork, and now it's this is already defended, right? Trundle tries to extend, but he's just going for blue and then of course going for the Raptor respawn. Maokai is rather slow here on the clear, right? And here Trundle just goes for the Raptor respawn because most Maokais, of course, they just start Raptors. The extension bot as well, Trimby, he lost thumbs, he also died. This was terrible, right? I was quite worried for Trimby in this series because in the previous series as well, he was struggling a lot playing his ranged champions. I mean, melee champions, sorry. And with that in mind, he did play better and better as the series extended. There was a lot of situations in this game that got extended. There was a kill on top, you know. There was a moment where Evi actually managed to get a kill on Oscarinin. Maybe I can just show it. You know, he gets a kill on Oscarinin on the 3v1. You know, when Alistar roams, which was pretty bad for the game, of course. And then here, I think even if maybe there's a world where Evi like flashes the Alistar combo here, and then he just lives. Like if Evi just flashes the Alistar combo, I think that he is just in the clear, and he would have been fucking Houdini. Like he would have just been the biggest Smurf moment of his time. Obviously, Oscarini could have played this better, didn't need to die. You know, 3 people collapsing. I think, you know, this gank, like here, we didn't see what's happening because of the pip, right? But Oscarini is losing so much HP trying to thin out the wave, and then he's just fighting in 3,000 minions, and Evi gets the kill. And then here, if Evi just flashes, you know, even if he flashes right now, I think he might be even safe, you know, and he gets comboed here. But the thing is, he gets comboed here, and then he gets hit, and then his flash is already in distance of Trundle. You know, I think if he flashes the combo, he's safe, and he would have made like a terrible Smurf play. But this looks so good for Team Heretics, you know, the extension of every situation. Yon managed to pick up 3 kills left and right, and they have this composition that, you know, looked super, super juicy. I think here on the solo kill that Noah found, I think that Varus used Q on the wave. He just Q'd on the wave, and that's why Noah's jumping. Like here he Q'd on the wave, and Noah just goes. This was a very good read here by Noah. Because if Flacket has Q here ready, it changes a lot, you know, because the QW is a lot of damage, and you just do it on melee range. It got a little bit close and iffy because Flacket actually dodged a couple of autos, Noah missed them, and that made this, of course, tricky. We extend this game here. You know, Yon was really, really popping off. He was super, super strong in the game. They were getting kills left and right as they collapsed, and I think in a lot of cases Fnatic were just getting caught, you know. It was rough. I think Oscarinin died in this particular position a couple of times, you know. He was getting caught on site. I think if I fast forward, we're going to have a little deja vu where he just dies in the exact same spot, and then they're going to convert it into a Nasher, you know. This looked plain and simple. Like, this is me fast forwarding. This is not me rewatching the same death. Oscarinin dies in the exact same spot. Very tough with the position they were in, where the enemy team is stronger on side, and Flacket could just clear the waves on mid. Could have been good. I think the main job here for Trimby and Razork is to just secure Jace on side. You know, it would have been the play. But this was, of course, awful. So now the extension, we had this fight on mid lane where Team Heretics throw big time. All they needed to do was just play for the next Nash because, you know, everything was in their favor. Let me just show you guys this fight here on the mid wave. So here, Nash is spawning, Soul Point is spawning. This should be a big win for Team Heretics already. 5v5, blue side doesn't have any chance. The only thing they can hope for is some kind of poke for Zeri to hit with W, and also Jace EQs to land. But Flacket can clear these waves on his own, and everyone else can be in fog, which puts so much pressure on Fnatic through Fog of War. Here, this was a moment where they tried to kidnap a Poppy, but she flashed out and then Art out. And then in this moment, right, they should just kill Trundle, you know? They should just use Yon ult on him, they should just use their spells on him, he dies, and then they can convert that into more. Maybe Fnatic can poke them off objectives, but it's a very, very, you know, favorable position to just kill the enemy jungle, right? When the big objectives are spawning. You can TP back and get health back and so forth, but instead we have this very, very strange extension. Here Flacket is playing like he's playing fucking Lethality Varus. I don't know why Flacket is going into, you know, this, like, why is he going into this pocket? Like, why is he not playing with his team here and walking forward? You know, Jankos is marking. It's not like Humanoid can do much here. Like, he should just move forward. Like, I don't know where he's going, right? And the same thing here. Like, Viteo could have Ard off of that, and they could use spells of Mersa. You know, they could have done so much more here. They could have made sure they killed Razork, but instead we have the situation with Theo ults in. He gets comboed, one shot by Jace, and Mersa dies too because he's trying to do what exactly? He's flashing over the wall. I don't know what Mersa did. Let's see what he did. I didn't notice what he did in this fight here. He just flashes into WR, and they can't have any follow-up. So this was, of course, terrible, you know. I think Team Heretics are in such a decent position here from before, and I think this should be really, really winning for them, this position. I have to admit, though, as well, like, looking at, even though it's not like the game is completely over for Fnatic, right? Because they do have 3 core finished on Jace and 3 core finished on Zeri. Red side should still be quite winning, I think, if they control the river and let either Viteo, probably Viteo on the wave. I think that it's very hard for Fnatic to actually face check. They put saplings down, and then they can push it towards Nash, and all is good, you know? Because they still have their tier 1 alive. So if they control this bush, and they control this space, and they make sure that this is dark, then it's very hard for Fnatic to actually cross, you know? Because Team Heretics do a good job here of going into river, but they should just maintain this position and let someone catch mid. Because if Fnatic try to run it down mid, they're gonna get engaged on by a Maokai ult, right? But off of this, right, there was a big play on mid. I couldn't believe the sequence here, and I honestly thought that there's a slight chance that Fnatic are just tilted off the earth after this play. Like, first, Tromboner gets caught on the mid wave. You know, Jace is showing on side, and he's farming side, so all they need to do is wait for this wave. I don't know why Trimby is contesting. He drops to 1 HP, and then the continuation here. Maokai is undermining the enemy, right? Because he just saw that Alistar is off the map. He's practically dead, right? And then there's and then you just have the Maokai ult, the follow-up. Noah has cleansed, but he just ease off. And here Trundle also is walking the bad route. I don't know why Trundle's walking here. This turret is already gone because of the mistake of Trimby. Then he dies here, and then for some reason Noah also just gets fucking clipped by this fucking Yon ult. Like, this is also terrible. And then all of a sudden the game is just over. I thought this was very, very low quality gameplay. Very, very poor. We continue to game 2. Here Fnatic is back on the blue side because it's just loads and they had side selection, right? They went Kai'Sa, Xayah, and they removed Rel. Rel is a champion that Bruder Musas is doing well on, right? What's his name? He's doing well on, and they just ban it. I think Mersa is doing well on Rel, so they just ban it, and here they leave Renekton open. They advances into Renekton. It's perfectly fine, right? It's like Poppy. They can play Poppy. They can play Renekton. No problem at all. Here, this is where you begin to see some of the draft flaws of what Team Heretics is doing, right? It's like they don't know if the enemy plays Ivan or not. They know themselves that they don't play Ivan. They know themselves they don't play Tristana. These are things that can be worrisome, right? They choose to ban Maokai. Here, I wonder if after the first initial game they didn't feel like Jankos was empowered enough playing Maokai. But the key thing here, right, if they ban Tristana, I still think that the enemy first pick Jace and then you can play a game. But I think that they recognize that they don't want to play Maokai without an AD mid laner. All of the problems from before still stand. So they go, the enemy picks Jace, they go Ahri Renekton. Perfectly fine, you leave options for your jungle, you get the counter pick, so to speak, right? Either you pick Sejuani on 3 or you pick Trundle into enemy Sejuani or Poppy. So the continuation here, right, is that they pick Poppy and Aphelios, and then Trundle gets slammed without any consideration that Poppy can go top. And this is where, of course, Team Heretics gets completely fucked, because they remove Gragas Milio, which is Gragas' top lane into Renekton that doesn't lose value against Trundle, and then they ban Milio. I thought the moment they ban Milio signifies that they want to play some kind of AP bot, because Milio would be fine in lane against AP's bots, but they just wanted to set up the Rakan perfectly fine, and here Trimby picks Ivan and Nautilus. So Ivan is turbo value here, of course. Trundle jungle against Ivan sounds like a absolute nightmare to play, right? This is such a nightmare to play, and then Nautilus, of course, is good into Rakan. They pick Sivir here because they believe it's good into Nautilus, but I personally, my take on Sivir is that this champion is just piss useless in a lot of cases. I think that the value you get out of Spell Shield, it's like, you know, putting a safe, it's like putting a safe over, you know, let's say you buy a safe for €1,000 and then you like put a €50 painting in it. It's like, what's the point of like protecting this shit, you know? Nevertheless, I think still the Varus prio should be high. You know, the Varus should have been prioritized. I think Varus is such a strong champion, and here you drop 4-5. I think the Team Heretics would have been so much better off if they just picked AD here on 3 to match against Aphelios, and then see where this Poppy goes, because Poppy can be sent into Renekton. So Team Heretics got completely gapped here in draft. Rakan gets picked blind, and then Sivir, and then, you know, still the same issues stand as I mentioned before. It's like here they reveal the Ivan, and Fnatic show a deeper arsenal of playing the OPs on 13-13. What are the OPs on 13-13? LeBlanc, Kai'Sa, Rumble, Maokai with Tristana, Maokai with Jace, and then Ivan. If you're missing chunks there in your play, you're going to have a hard time, because you're going to have to use your bans meticulously for it, right? So they ban Maokai on red. I still think they could have gotten Maokai, but this was them saying we don't want to play Ahri together with Jace, and we're done with playing Yon because we just lost the Yon game. So that's why they're banning Maokai. They're banning Maokai even though they know the Jace first pick is coming. They know it. And that's the whole point. Someone in the chat said that Trundle... Someone said that Trundle was is good against Maokai. I don't think it's true. I think Maokai is really good against Trundle. Like, you can maybe lose level 3, but I think other than that, it's terrible. They won the Yon game, but it was a very stressful game, right? It was a very close game, you know? So they clearly abandoned the Yone after this. So Trundle gets picked. But here I think you slam AD, you wait with Trundle, you look to 5-pick mid, 5-pick top, no problem, right? But here Ivan gets locked in, and Ivan against Trundle is a nightmare. But even this game, right, they started off well. Let's take a look at this game. Even this game they started off well. I think of course blue side is very favored. It's just that if you look at the quality of these champs, I'm happy that they didn't go Braum. They slammed Nautilus. I was worried for our boy Trimby because it's like he walked out of base, he already has no flash, he flashed out of fog, right? And then the extension of things, it's like they was definitely not having an easy time bot. They were looking to... As mentioned before, right, Fnatic really likes to fight in this. Why is Ivan versus Trundle a nightmare? Because Ivan is a ranged champion. He kites Trundle as a dog, and Trundle has no value out of spells. When should I pick Maokai in draft? Maokai is really OP, generally speaking, but is even stronger with the Jace and Tristana because they play in a very similar way. They play their lanes in a very similar way, and also they play their mid to late game in a very similar way. And also, the enemy team will not be able to buy Mercury threads. It's a very big one. So here, just there was this extension, this 3-man invade, and they committed. Jace was not involved in this. Jace didn't want to play this, right? Ahri went first, and Jace chose not to follow. He just chooses to push, which I think is correct. You know, if his team is fighting here, this is their prerogative, but I think putting Jankos and Trundle in such a position to fight is such a big mistake. I think that Fnatic is so used to always having complete dominance over this quadrant of the map that when they don't, they kind of struggle. We saw this now in 2 games. They really like to be the stronger bot, and they really like to be the stronger jungler to fight, and that's why they play Trundle, right? That's why they play Poppy. And in this particular one, right, they are just inviting a dream situation for Trundle, and it doesn't happen. And all of a sudden, this Ahri is 1-0-2, and summoners are burnt across the board. Right? It also sucks, of course, that Tromboner didn't have flash because he griefed his flash, but that's it. Why isn't Sejuani played that much like LPL, LCK? I think that the main reason, I think, is because there's a lot less Sejuani, there's a lot less Renekton players, a lot less Jax players, and additionally people fear Trundle, and additionally Ivan doesn't get banned in this region, and also Maokai doesn't get banned in this region. So these 2 champs are in the picture, right? If we look at here, for example, G2 versus XL, here Maokai is first picked, Sejuani gets picked, right? Here, Maokai gets first picked, Trundle gets locked in, and they lose. Here, Maokai Rel is out, they first pick Sejuani, right? So there is still that layer of prio, but it's just a question of bans being different and also top lane being different. You get me? Alright, we look at game 2. This game eventually was concluded because of a, they get 2v2 killed. Like, this game looks completely over once again. Like, this looks so losing. And Team Heretics lose in the most sad way, honestly. It's like Renekton has good condition. It's like Evi was definitely not the problem today, you know. It's like Evi has been struggling, but I think that definitely, Team Heretics were just outclassed, on many levels. And I think this fight here really saved, I think, Trimby's confidence and also Trimby's level of play looking into this Drake that is spawning here. We're just going to fast forward till we find it. Let's look at it here. So here, plain and simple, right? Civi decides to go to bot wave, which is perfectly fine. Civi goes to bot wave. She wants to push this because she has full vision bottom side. If she didn't have full vision bottom side, then she wouldn't walk down to push. And just because Civi walks down to push, Team Heretics, all they need to do is wait, because the enemy is going to lose minions or show on that minion wave, and then Civi is going to be able to reconnect because the enemy is not hitting Drake. They have vision here. And Team Heretics, all they need to do is do nothing. Do absolutely nothing. And instead, they are in the situation where they get hooked by Tromboner and then they lose. Civi is showing on bot wave. And this is such a sad way of losing the game, but this really threw the advantage that they had, and then the enemy team gets second Drake somehow, even though they are so much weaker. It's very bad for the game, right? And then the continuation here, like off of this, right? I mentioned already the blue side composition is so strong, and now Jace made a massive comeback, and then now there's a double TP on the bottom side because Team Heretics out of this pause. You know, here they are all inning bot, and Trundle is on Raptors, and Renekton is crossing, and Ari is on mid. You know, this is such disconnected gameplay. Team Heretics bot lane really like throws the whole fucking game if you add the previous play to the party, right? Renekton is hitting mid wave as well. It's like, look how disconnected they are. It's like Renekton is hitting mid turret, and these two guys are pushing to fight, right? And maybe there would be like some kind of play here, but it's such a big swing of gold that Fnatic got in the last 2 minutes, if you also count the Infernal Drake. And their composition is super strong. We have to add the fact that, you know, Ari, Renekton, these are champions that fall off. They need to play for Drake control, and Drake wins, but it just didn't work. Humanoid got killed on side, but it was kind of whatever. Eventually, you know, there was this fight. Let's just show it. I think that, you know, don't send in your Daisy like this. Don't send in your Daisy like this. Poppy can just ult out of fog. It's like, how is Team Heretics realistically going to play their fight, right? It's like, Rakan can't engage against Poppy. It's very difficult. I think, you know, the enemy team is relatively short range, very easy to tank, and then Jace EQs are just provoking, and then the shields of Ivan will put anyone out of lethal ranges. It's very tough. They snipe Trundle out. Evie has to E of the Wolf because he's isolated. Has to probably use Portal right away, so there's a fight. Veteo gets hooked, which is very bad, right? So Veteo managed to get a lot of leads in this game, in this series, but he just couldn't convert. He just couldn't convert at all, and his presence wasn't known. I think the humanoid, it's like Veteo has had a really good summer, but I think that even though it was a team gap, these are the type of situations where you see like elite versus like a strong mid laner. And Veteo needs to break through and convert games like this to really truly be elite, you know? And to me, like, the elite mid laners is like humanoid, Caps, you know? Very well played by Oscarinin. I really like Oscarinin on Poppy, really like him on Ornn. Like, really, as a tank player, he has really reinvented himself, you know? Oscarinin really played well, you know? Really well done. And now Fnatic got Nash, and their comp is just better, so the game is just won, right? There's no way for Red Side to actually play. Now, as we've talked so much about draft gap, this one was crazy, right? Team Heretics are in this problem, in this really rough state where I think banning Poppy is quite troll. I don't know why the fuck you ban Poppy when Maokai is gonna go through and you have no intention of picking. Like, I think this Jace ban was really fucking smart. Really fucking smart. This Jace ban secured Fnatic Maokai. Because once again, no signs. It's like here, I told you already, guys, that Team Heretics banning Tristana here on red side reveals their whole hand. They ban LB after Kaiser response and Tristana. They reveal their whole hand. They're not playing Tristana today. And this Jace ban secures them Maokai. Because once again, they are not willing to play Tristana side into LB. Right? And here the enemy goes Maokai Tristana. And then they are on this Trundle again. And we already know Trundle is not that great. And then additionally, they feel the need to ban Ivan, which is understandable, and they ban Xayah. But realistically here, in the context of Xayah, when you know that Maokai Tristana and Rumble is going to be in the picture, you have to kind of play with the idea that maybe you will get Xayah, or the enemy takes Xayah, and you play Aphelios into it, or Varos into it. I think here, when you're so weak in draft as a team, I think that you should open Xayah. Because at least if the enemy picks Xayah, you can play champions into it. And additionally, it will remove one of the champions from the enemy that they can pick 1, 2, 3, and you can ban it for 5. Because at least you have answers into Xayah, right? So here, the Xayah ban, it's like Fnatic has a lot more room to ban the Xayah. Because they are a lot stronger and more flexible in terms of what they can first pick. But here, Team Heretics, I think they throw away the first 2 bans. I think this should have been Rumble, and I think additionally, this should have been Tristana. So they can first pick Jace. Or, in a case where LB is open, they first pick LB. Especially when enemy reveals Kaiser ban on 1. I think the Poppy Xayah bans are just bad. So now the extension is, the enemy gets Rumble, Tristana, Maokai. You have a useless Trundle that doesn't get any value against these three champions. Rumble, Trundle against Maokai is insanely fake. And then Aphelios gets picked, and then Varus doesn't get banned for 5. Maybe Viteo doesn't think he's good enough on Jace. No, that's not the issue. It's Tristana. Jace got banned here and was really smart by Fnatic, because they saw exactly what I've been saying. They see that the enemy doesn't play Trist, and Maokai is in the picture. So either they're going to put the bullet and the gun to enemy head, they're going to first pick LB, we get Maokai Tristana. Because the enemy had to use bans on Poppy Xayah for some damn reason. Trundle, Aphelios, and then Rumble. It's like, how the fuck do you want to play Aphelios Trundle in this game? Against Maokai Tristana Rumble. That's hell. And also this is a Rumble with bans. So they just ban Ornn and Renekton. And then he picks Kesante. This is Rumble with Ornn Renekton out. It's like Rumble is really OP. But imagine you have Rumble with 2 bans as well. It's giga OP. And then Varus gets picked here on 4. Beautiful pick. I think Varus is fucking strong. I think Varus is so fucking strong. I think Varus should be 1, 2, 3'd. Right? I really think Varus should be 1, 2, 3. I think this champion is giga OP. But it didn't happen. Yeah, Jace is for sure one of the strongest champs in the game, for sure. Varus gets picked, Kesante, Nautilus. Okay, Nautilus blind because Braum. Here you can consider also, because enemy is already showing AD, to pick Nautilus for yourself, because Braum is out. I think Nautilus really secures a super strong bot lane. I think it's better than you playing Alistar. The additional reason why you wouldn't want to play Nautilus is because Trundle is showing already, right? Because at least then Alistar doesn't give value for Trundle. So maybe this is the thought process, which is perfectly fine. I just wanted to have that conversation about Fnatic, because when they have a strong bot lane, they are super, super good. And Nautilus as a laner is just insane. So here, Varus gets picked, and then Nautilus gets picked, and then Alistar is the champion to go for. Okay, here Fnatic, draft Nirvana, draft Gap, every step of the way, right? There's not even, it's not even close. It's not even close. He went Lethality Varus in this game, of course. Like, there's nothing else to go for. Lethality Varus all the way. You know, LB managed to pick up some kills here and there. They dove Rumble. But the issue is that there is a stress on Team Heretics that they need to end the game. LeBlanc needs to somehow 1v9 and just be perma on side and just win. You know, they need to pressure somehow with Viteo. But they have to face the music of other drafters at some point, right? And you put Viteo in such a position where he has to completely 1v9 or the game is over, you know. This was definitely true. This was a very nice conversion here by Fnatic. They were in the situation where Tuco is finished on Trist, Tuco finished on Varus, but he doesn't have mana mule stack. Tuco finished on Maokai, they're super strong in the game. Trundle tries to walk up, do something, looks for pillar, ults, doesn't get value out of ult. And just because of this HP burn completely and pushing the enemy off, they just turn around to Nash, easy peasy. This is just draft cap. Like, what the fuck is the blue side supposed to do besides hoping LB takes Nexus? You know, there's nothing. They didn't like the Yone after the first game, I think. I think they felt like that game was a steal, you know? Then after Nash is taken, Fnatic tried to run off, and then Team Heretics tried to fight because they think, oh, if these guys base with Nash, well, the game is just over. So we're gonna just suicide here. The suicide cult, we're gonna drink the Kool-Aid and go through this choke where Rumble is going to barbecue us. Smells like fucking Korean barbecue in here, man. Jesus. And then the game is over. Now looking at game 4, the final game of the series. Here, I think Team Heretics just tried something. I think that they felt like they were unmatched, that they were just in a very, very deep hole. Here, Fnatic, for some reason, ban Ivan themselves. They ban Ivan themselves. They chose to go for it. They ban Ivan themselves. I think they did Team Heretics a favor, but maybe they just didn't want to take risk, and they had room to do so. Kaiser ban, followed by the LB ban. We already discussed this. Rel out, Maokai out. With Maokai out, at least, you know, you don't need to pick it yourself, and you can chill a bit with everything. With Maokai out, you can at least set up Ahri against Jace if you don't want to play Tristana, or pick Jace yourself and just find a different AP champion. So here, Ivan gets out and Rumble is out. The enemy first pick Jace, of course, invites the Ahri. Xayah gets locked in. Here they leave Xayah open. And then they go Varus with 2-3, which was a beautiful adaptation. This is what I wanted to see in game 1, right? If they pick Varus, Varus is really strong into Xayah, good into Aphelios. What other ADs are being played currently in the meta? Varus is good against all of them. Really. Varus does so well, and he has build diversity. A key thing here as well with Varus, right, is that Varus controls bot lane, enables Razork to play strong early games. A super crucial pick that will be contested tomorrow, because both Excel and Fnatic is aware of this. Super important. Poppy gets locked in. I don't like Poppy super much here, but Poppy at least makes them stronger against the Rakan on 3, and also Ahri is showing. So it's not terrible. Right? It's also, Poppy is something that can be played into all of the champions that Abby wants to play top. Besides maybe Lilia. But this Poppy pick is here to just secure them, right? In a lot of cases, you would see teams pick Sejuani here. Like, this is a spot where picking Sejuani is good. But they feel like Sejuani is weaker into Xayah and then potential Rakan on 3, and that's why they pick Poppy, because they can flex Poppy and then they can choose what they do with jungle on 4-5. Here, Team Redis ban Nautilus and they ban Sejuani, and then Trundle Vi gets banned. They're just banning AD junglers because enemies showing Ahri, so they need AD jungles. I think that Vi is a reasonable ban, even though probably enemy is going to play Viego, but I think Viego is kind of a trash champion. I think Viego is not a trash champion, but the game you're trying to make happen with Viego is a very tough one to succeed in my opinion. And every time Team Heretics played Viego, their early games didn't look strong enough to justify Viego, because even in this game, this Viego was 40-30 CS behind and still bought Trinity Force, right? So here they pick Ornn, Leona. Like, already Ornn, Leona is enough to force enemy to buy Magic Resist, because you kind of need Mercuries against this, right? So it's a very big deal. Poppy Flex, already, you know, Jace and Varus, they're going to be poking, they're going to play from range. Poppy W is going to have value, Poppy Wood's going to have value. And Team Heretics, they have such a... It's like, I think this was probably the bigger outdraft, because I think that the Jace ban was so clever, because they really, you know, knew that the enemy won't play Tristana, and I think this was such a turbo checkmate, right? The Jace ban. But this, I think Team Heretics just kind of outdrafted themselves, right? The main issue of Team Heretics is that they had to ban LB on 3, red side, and they couldn't play Tristana into it. And then additionally, their answer into Jace was Ahri. And then the only hope that they had was to run back what they did on blue side in the first game. Because at least here, the enemy picks Jace and they pick Maokai, and at least they get Maokai and played it with Yone. I think this was the better draft scenario, where they play Maokai Yone. I think this is just better than the scenario where you play Ahri. When people ask, why do we see so little Ahri and Azir in the West? It's because the most OP junglers in the game are AP junglers. Alright? But I think that also teams in the West are not so great at leveraging how OP Sejuani is level 3 and also on 6. It seems like Team Heretics just lost faith in the Yone after this game. Because after this, they started banning Maokai on red, right? If they ban Maokai on red, it means they want to play Ahri cases. And to be fair, it was something that worked for Team Heretics, right? They beat Koi with Ahri, right? As an example. So they had some false information there, right? In the grand scheme of things. But in the end, you know, your limits are your limits, right? We can talk about draft endlessly, but if the players are limited, then their players are limited, right? And we can't speculate on what the reason is. We can just talk about theoretically what is the best draft to do. So Lilia gets picked. I think Lilia, this is a terrible Lilia game. Like, I know it's important to talk about the Lilia but this Lilia game is so shit. It's like, why would you want to play Lilia against Leona, Ornn, Varus, Poppy, Jace? Like sure, the enemy has plenty of tanks, but they have so much fucking CC, and Jace can just one-shot you. It's a terrible Lilia game. What does he pick then? It's very hard to save the draft here, honestly. It's like, Freeze in the call mentioned Malphite. I think Malphite probably would be the best thing to pick. I think that's perfectly fair, because at least you have Malphite ult, you have like weaker lane into Ornn, but who cares? And then you can fucking press R on Varus and Chase, right? I think Malphite was best here, right? Just fucking slam them all fight. Cannon is not good. Cannon is not good. Cannon loses side and doesn't lane well into Ornn, like not well enough. Viego, it's like, the issue is with the Ahri draft, it's like here you kind of want to play Vi, you want to play Wukong, but people are allergic to playing these champs. It's like people are so allergic to playing Wukong and Vi, it's terrible. PTA Malphite just fist Ornn, that's not true. Isn't Wukong shit now? No. It's not. People are delusional about Wukong being shit, but it's not. It's very much the same champ. It's like, you think Viego is better than Wu? I'm not a believer, you know. I think Wukong is underrated. I think if you have to play, like, imagine you play Wukong into Varus Jace. You can outplay Poppy too, like, you have room to outplay. I think Wukong is definitely like... What about Gwen this game, like Wundo was saying? Yeah, Gwen is really good too, yeah. But I'm just thinking in this way of heavy, right? It's like Gwen... The fact that teams don't play Gwen is crazy to me. I think Gwen is one of the most OP champions in the game, and I think in a lot of these drafts there's a lot of Gwen angles. Maybe not in the XLG2 series because Renekton was in all the time. But I think Fnatic was the more prepared team, and that's why I thought Fnatic would win as well. I mentioned in my rundown for the series, I said that Fnatic, plain and simple, they will have a deeper pool, and the main question is how is LeBlanc going to be treated from blue side? And will Team Heretics be willing to play Tristana? And they weren't, and it was such a big edge. You guys can check my Twitch VOD because maybe the people on YouTube don't believe me because it's not there, right? But looking at this game, I think there's not much to really analyze or to look at. I think plain and simple, Fnatic, you know, I think this was a good example of what I mentioned before, because here Fnatic had like control over bot, because they have the Varus, which is super nice. They had control over bot, and then Poppy was pressuring. You know, this is a great example. You know, this is a great example of what Fnatic want to accomplish every fucking game. Like, they want to have stronger bot, stronger junglers that can contest, and they're going to look to invade pressure bot side, or they're going to look to pressure dive. This is what they want to do every single game. That's why Varus is so perfect for them. I also did say that Razok is the better jungler over Jankos if he plays Ivan, and he did. Right? So, like, I did make a tier list on players, and I said the moment Razok rocks in Ivan, he becomes the better jungler than Jankos. Wasn't Gwed good here? Yeah, Gwed was good here for it, yeah. Humanoid EQs, it's like humanoid. What is the strength of humanoid? Really good laner, really fucking good side laner, and really fucking good team fighter. This is perfect meta for humanoid, as long as the guy picks the right fucking champs. I think humanoid is phenomenal. I don't think Oscar is a Gwen player though. It's not about Oscar. Alright, you guys are going way too off topic, so I'm just gonna ignore chat. This was game winning. Jace pushes mid for free, and Ahri tries to roam, and they get a kill on Mercer. The W's in onto fucking W of Poppy. Very, very bad, right? And it extends. At one point, Lilia walks down bot and tries to get some business done, but she didn't manage to do much. You know, this was kind of like a comeback moment for Team Heretics, but it just wasn't enough. The draft is in shambles. Varus, you know, they dove bot, they killed Xayah, Rakan. Varus in such good conditions with Leona. Evie tried to do as much as possible, but his Qs weren't landing. You know, this is some sloppy Lilia play, you know, but it's all good, you know, not that big of a deal. There was this trade where Herald was taken by Fnatic and they lose tier 2 top, the red side team. At least they get a little Drake, but they are racing against the Rift Herald. Why no GP versus Ornn? It's like... that's whatever. If I get stuck on every single question in chat, then we will never be finished. And the game is finished, 26 minutes. Alright, now to summarize, right, my prediction versus versus XL, I think that Fnatic will beat XL. Because once again, I think G2 drafted so fucking poorly against XL, and at the same time, I think they played poorly. I think that we're in a meta where draft is insanely important because there's clear outliers of what is broken. I think that Fnatic will win. I think that the big issue for XL in terms of their play, I think that a big issue for them is Abedagi lane phase. He's a straight up fucking liability. And I think Humanoid will devour him in lane. Like he will lane against him 2 minutes and will say, this guy is fucking shit. I will carry this game. And when you hear Humanoid say that, it is most of the time true. I think that Fnatic has understood better their bot lane picks. I think being able to play Varus, I think that's where things can get very contested. XL's bot lane versus Fnatic's bot lane, I think that XL is not bad. They play the Xayah Rakan, they play the Varus, and these champions will be contested. I think that having bot prior will be essential because I think Limit has been quite good. When I look at the top 4 teams, I felt like Limit was the second best support in the league. He's been performing super good. The meta is perfect for Limit. So I think that's where things can get contentious, right? If Fnatic end up in position where they play like Alistar Zeri again, that's fucking rough. I think that Peach looked good because of really stupid mistakes from G2, and I think the Peach is not a strong player. And I think when it comes to XL, I think that their bot lane has carried them so far. I think in terms of their setups late game, their 20-minute Nashor starts, their setups around Drakes and how Limit takes space and how Patrick plays fights has carried XL super far. And sure, XL come into this series with some information about Fnatic, but Fnatic has now confirmed that they play everything important in the meta. And I think that's a massive edge. I think the key thing is don't let Odoamne play Rumble, deny that. And then the main issue for Abedagi is that he's playing against a mid laner that wants to play the most OP champions in the game. He's playing against a mid laner that probably wants to play LB, except Fnatic can't play Kai'Sa. Well, the key thing about Kai'Sa, right, is that playing Kai'Sa bot lane, she's relatively weak in lane. That's the main thing about Kai'Sa. And additionally, Kai'Sa mid is a myth. Kai'Sa mid is only against LB. I could see a world where Fnatic play against Kai'Sa bot and they don't mind at all. They don't mind at all. Really. Because if they play against Kai'Sa, they're going to actually be able to control bot. And I think this is essential. I know that Kai'Sa is considered OP, and I agree to a lot of degrees, but Kai'Sa needs to get there. And whatever happens when you don't get there, you are in power holes, real power holes. And the main thing about Eastern teams, what they do so well with Kai'Sa is that they really create pressure on Kai'Sa by controlling the game through mid. If you look at the top 4 LPL teams, right, that are currently in playoffs, look at their mid-jungle duos. So you have Tian, Rookie. You have Scout, Tarzan. You have Knight, Kanavi. You have Yagao, Shun. And then additionally, if you just look at the AD carry pool, let me blow your mind. You have Ruler, Jackie Love, Gala, Elk. Jesus. And these guys, when they have Kai'Sa in their hand, they are fucking smurfing, dude. It's not the same champ, I feel, in the East, you know? It's not the same champ. Not the same champ. So I think that leaving Kai'Sa open is definitely like an option. I think playing Xayah and Varus into Kai'Sa is definitely like a thing. Definitely a thing. I don't think Elk is... It's hard to say that Elk is the weakest, bro. It's hard to pick names. Elk has played fucking good, dude. So, okay. I think XL, I think that Abedagi is just such a shit laner. No offense, you know, he's terrible laner. Like a G2, like Caps could have eaten him alive, but Caps fucked up, right? I think Peach does way too many fucking mistakes. The main thing here is the amount of priority XL put on bot lane. And if they can dominate the game through bot and they can get to 25-30 minutes and Fnatic make these mistakes where they are overeager to take fights when Humanoid is setting up the game, Fnatic can definitely shoot themselves in the foot. And I think that part is rough. The thing is, you say Caps ain't got that dog in him, right? But look at XL versus G2 game 1. Caps completely 1v9 this game.
An interesting split in regards to...
Look at this.
For you, but they want to keep the...
What's happening to Abadage? His jungle is right there, and he's getting spit on. Okay? So this was super crazy. Look at game 2 as well. I know people laughed at this Lucian. But brother. If he plays this situation out correctly, look at mid situation, by the way. Look at mid situation. You think this is fucking playable for Jace? If I just go back, guys, I go back. We look in the pip right now. Look in the picture in picture, right? Look at the picture in picture. Look at the picture in picture, and look at Jace HP somehow. So right now, if you look at the picture in picture, you see the little Jace here? He's full HP, he just TP'd back with items and 2 refillable. But I don't know what the fuck he did to lose all of his fucking HP. Now he's trading. Look, he's trading. Hey, look, Caps didn't lose any HP. Like, what the fuck did Abadage do? What did he do? What the fuck did he do? What did he do? My goodness.
And we see Peach taking a recall on this bot side. Has the flat up and now Hans Summer has the ghost.
So he TP'd back. He has 150 HP. He's under the turret. And then, you know, Caps can kill him. Caps can kill him if he plays this good, right? Well, he has to W, hit, E, hit, Q, hit, he's dead. And he just has to E here. W the minions. Auto, dash, Q. He has to dash out of this turret range, so he doesn't get hit. Q, auto, it's lethal. Jace has no flash. Doesn't matter if he Q is E's. I think this Lucian mid is a fraud pick. No, it's not, by the way. It's really not. It's really, really not. Lucian mid is legit, I think, into Jace. But if you grief like this, yeah, of course, it's fucking bad. Anyhow, I think additionally, what Fnatic showed today, right, is that really they need bot prio. So Razork is enabled. They also showed Ivan, which is a really big plus. Peach didn't show Ivan. I think that as long as Fnatic deny Jace, always pick Jace and red side ban Jace, super important. Really important. Don't let Abadage play Jace. Don't play Abadage. Don't let him play Jace. Don't let him play Jace. That is the key thing. On blue side, ban Rumble, first pick Jace. And then if you have angles for it, pick Maokai Tristana into Jace, that's perfectly fine. You can first pick Maokai. This is just very important. Don't fucking give XL these drafts where they are playing where they are playing Maokai, Kaiser, Jace. Don't let them these drafts. At least if enemy goes Maokai, Kaiser, make sure you're the one first picking Jace here, picking Ivan and doing some good stuff, you know? XL should have side selection. But that's my thoughts. That's my discussion around the series. I think XL is going to lose. I think that Fnatic is the better team. And I think that... do players have big say in draft with the mainly coaching staff with the side picks? Well, the thing is, when it comes to... XL chose blue, okay. When it comes to draft... it is always a work in progress. So how I set up the draft is that on day one, when the players walk in, we set a foundation. We set a foundation for our draft. This is our draft. And then we expand on it. But we only expand on it and change it if we have additional information. and then you expand on it, it's something that is always growing. But if you want to play specific champs and adapt to certain champs, you need to be very early. You need to be sharp and understanding how the landscape moves. Because if you're too late in, you're going to be at a significant disadvantage, right? And then additionally, of course, when you're on stage, it's a accumulation. It's accumulation of everything that you've done the entire year, right? It's like Healy, when he 5-speaks, he picks whatever the fuck he wants. You know, I could tell him, I think we should play this, you know, he picks whatever the fuck he wants. In a lot of cases, he agreed with me, but sometimes he just fucking feels the pike, so he locks in the pike, right? But this is very depending on player, right? Very dependent on player. It's like Healy is very unique in this regard, right? And the additional layer of this, right, is that I think if you watch Fnatic play, you don't want them to play Jace either. This Jace is getting 3 items every fucking game, and it's 1v9ing. So I think from Team Heretic's perspective, the best chance that they have is to invite the LB and see how the enemy reacts. I think this is where they need to fish for information. Really, really chin check the enemy and see if they want to play LB. Because I think someone needs to fucking test Fnatic with this. Like, Excel really need to chin check them. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to watch some LCS now, guys.